live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. Thursday, August 17th. We're going in depth on a number of different topics tonight. One of those mix and match sort of shows, so we'll get to all of that in a moment. But before we get there, here's a look at what's making headlines tonight. You can find all these stories on our website right now, KUTV.com. Let's show them to you. The stories that you can find there are all there at KUTV.com. The Adjutant Major General of the Utah National Guard, Michael Turley, on paid administrative leave. Now, the news came down from the governor's office just about an hour and a half ago. In his position, Turley essentially leads and heads up the Utah National Guard. A story today from USA Today, citing unnamed sources, says the investigation concluded that Turley had an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate soldier. This has been going on for at least a year or so in terms of the investigation. A Utah businesswoman and her husband, owners of multi-level marketing company Stampin' Up, released a public statement after their daughter was charged with the murder of her ex-husband, Microsoft executive Jared Bridgen. You can see that story on our website right now, KUTV.com. Today marks a somber anniversary for the lieutenant governor and her family. It's been a year since her cousin, Amanda Main, was shot and killed during a domestic violence incident. Since then, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson has played a pivotal role in creating new tools to help victims of domestic violence. We talked about it just a few weeks ago right here on 2 News Live. Happening now, you can ride on UTA for free. It's part of the Zero Fare for Clean Air program happening today and tomorrow. The fares that are free apply to all buses, tracks, Front Runner, and the S-Line. I think the green bikes are also involved if that's your preferred mode of transportation. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. Use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join our conversation. It would be great to have you join us. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send me a direct message, any of those places, to weigh in. Well, let's talk about it. Thunderstorms, potential for flash flooding, parts of central and southern Utah. So this is some video that Jennifer sent me earlier today. This was behind when she was picking up her kids from school, Sterling. Yeah. The roads were flooded. And then this is Third West, just outside of downtown in Cedar City. You can tell I grabbed a lot of these. And then there's the ball field there. Not a good day for baseball in the Cedar City area. We've also got some pictures, I believe, coming from Capitol Reef National Park. Would love to show them to you if we have them. Waiting for them. I don't know if we have them for you, but I can tell you what happened there because I also got those pictures sent my way. The Fruita campground was flooded.
Muddy waters.
Muddy waters.
Yeah, muddy
they
waters.
Evacuated the campground.
Loop A of that campground was evacuated. Yep. And it's quite a mess. But
luckily, no injuries, and everyone's accounted for.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure that was clear.
That's the main thing that is important there. So crazy amounts of rain. That storm in Cedar City. Check this out. 2.05 inches of rain right here at Canyon View High School. That's a lot of rain, and this happened in just probably less than an hour.
So that is the baseball field we showed you, by the way, at Canyon View High School.
And there you go. That's a lot of water. And the temperature's in the low 60s now.
Ooh, a little chilly.
It gets a little chilly. Let's check the forecast for you. We do have a lot to talk about, a lot to get to today because these storms are definitely creating some problems across all of Utah, and they will continue to do so over the next couple of days. All right, we do have a couple of storms we want to point out. One of them is right by Park City. This storm is putting down some pretty good rain right now and some very gusty winds. We also have this area of storminess right here that is moving toward the northeast. This is southwestern Davis County, northern Tooele County. So all of these areas are seeing this storm system, and it is putting down some moderate to heavy rain. And you can see that maybe a little hail core right here with that storm system as it moves slowly across Interstate 80. There's water over ice. There's water on the roadway in many locations. So ponding on the road is definitely happening with this storm as it moves slowly toward the north. As you can see, like I said, the possibility of a little bit of hail falling down with that very heavy rain too. So Utah County's got some light showers. They had some thunder earlier, but that's kind of settled down. So some light rain showers moving through. We do have a flash flood warning in effect until 6 o'clock over the Dollar Ridge burn scar. It's just south and west of Duchesne area. Here's Duchesne to orient you there. This is where the major fire was a couple of years ago. We also have a flash flood warning in effect for the Moab area, Grand County, portions of San Juan County, as we see water draining draining off the LaSalle's down to the south and east of Moab as this the heavy thunderstorm activity moved through earlier today. That's all moved off, but the flooding can still happen. So as you look around the state, a lot of thunderstorm activity is still happening this evening, and we do expect it to die off, but some of it may linger overnight. And tomorrow, Storm Prediction Center is saying all of Utah, Nevada, and portions of Idaho and Wyoming will still see general thunderstorm activity tomorrow with the possibility of heavy rain, which I'll show you in a minute. High temperatures in the upper 80s, low 90s, not nearly as hot as today. And of course, this is Hillary right here. We're watching Hillary very closely because it is expected to move to the north. It's a Category 2 storm, turns into a Category 4 storm as it passes by the as it passes by the southern end of the Baja tip, and as it moves towards the southern part of California by Sunday afternoon. Look at this. A Category 2 storm makes landfall in the San Diego area. That means winds over 100 miles an hour. That's the latest track. And of course, that means that we are going to see this high pressure keeping that storm right along the periphery of that high pressure, sending it right up through California and into Oregon and Washington. So here's a look at your 7-day forecast. It does look like we'll see a soggy week and coming up with temperatures in the 80s, overnight lows in the 60s and low 70s. And for Salt Lake City, we've got those high temperatures in the 90s and 80s. St. George and Salt Lake 7 days look pretty much the same, Brian, because temperatures are going to be in the upper 80s, low 90s. And when we get these heavy rains, they may drop into the 60s briefly.
You mean we're equals finally?
Yeah, we're definitely equals.
It's been a matter of months. Okay.
Stay tuned.
Thank you, Sterling. Remember to always download our 2 News weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood. You can get some updated forecasts, some live radar right at the palm of your hand. It is free to download, so be sure to download the 2 News weather app today so you know what's going on. Hey, Moab is coming up on the 1-year anniversary of a devastating flash flood. Sterling just told us, tracking storms in that area tonight. Lincoln Graves is live in Moab tonight. Lincoln, rumor has it there's some water moving there right now.
Yeah, he mentioned that flash flood warning, Brian, and we have a current flash flood moving through Moab right now. It's not to the point where it's coming onto the streets, but let me give you a look at this. I'm going to turn this around. This is a look at Mill Creek right now, running through town. You can see all of that muddy water flowing very fast, just to give you an idea of where we are. Again, this is not impacting anything outside of the banks, but I can tell you we had this flash flood warning come through around 3:15, and it took a couple hours, an hour and a half, before we started to see Moab police officers come to our live shot location and warn us that yes, this was coming through town. It was going to be heading down Mill Creek. We were able to be on a bridge above Mill Creek watching it as that initial stage came through. I was actually on the 2 News Facebook page going live with that. You can go back and look at that video as it moves through. But you can see this current flash flood coming through a downtown Moab. Obviously, it's not as big as what they experienced a year ago. They do get smaller flash floods. It's not uncommon to see that, but showing you a live look at that right now, Brian.
Well, Lincoln, it's pretty spectacular. I was in Moab a day or two shortly after the flash flood last year, and of course I remember the visuals from that quite vividly. It's pretty amazing to see because I know that location, obviously it's not to the magnitude last year. How is everyone doing a year later though? There were many businesses damaged. There were even a couple other homes that were damaged. And obviously main drag in Moab was a river almost a year ago.
Yeah, everyone, I want to say there's been pretty much widespread recovery. Maybe some people dealing with after effects. You can still see some debris in some places. But the town is starting to clean up, and they're continuing to clean up. It takes a while because they did not get any federal help in terms of cleanup money. Everyone doing well, but the one thing I heard from everybody today, we saw these storm clouds building, and it just makes everybody nervous. They say it's not like it used to be. They enjoyed when the storms came through. They would go out and watch the rain. Now, it's a very different feeling. Everyone gets very nervous. They were nervous today when we started to hear about this impending flash flood. This looks to be as big as it's going to get from what I've heard from police officers, but still, it is enough to really scare people since they went through that a year ago.
Lincoln Graves live for us in Moab tonight. Lincoln, as you are there live in Moab, I'm actually going back on our Facebook page to look back at the video that you mentioned. I'm scrolling through it now and taking a look at Mill Creek in a different spot than you're live right now. Just going to see the headwaters there. Pretty spectacular. It's about 3 minutes and 30 seconds in on the video on our Facebook page. So go check it out right now. Lincoln just put that up there on a Facebook Live a few minutes ago. Lincoln, thank you very much. We'll be looking for your coverage throughout the rest of the remaining few days here in the weekend. So as the world watches cleanup and recovery efforts after the wildfire in Hawaii, it's really a reminder of very fast-moving fires that have hit the state of Utah over the years. Now, 13 years ago, I didn't know this one, the machine gun fire sparked during training at Camp Williams. So picture that location there, southern part of the Salt Lake Valley. The flames ripped across 4,000 acres, burned down 3 Herriman homes, forcing hundreds of evacuations. Ariel Harrison live in Herriman tonight, looking at the measures in place now. Apparently they weren't in place back then, right?
Yeah, I actually went to Camp Williams, which is located just over this ridge line in Herriman. I'm trying to kind of block my phone because the wind's coming through right now. But Camp Williams is located just over this ridge. It was this area that wildfire ripped through back in 2010, also 2012 from my understanding. That first one though in 2010 sparked by, it's called the machine gun fire because it sparked during training over this ridge. You know, mitigations, when I spoke with people on, in Camp Williams today, they said, hey, we were doing our very best back then, but we do have a lot of tools and resources we're now using after we learned from what happened in 2010, 2012. Some of that is they've gone through all this acreage that they train on and they built in fire breaks. They've also entered into a partnership with Unified Fire Authority. They actually have a team that is at the base daily, a team member, at least 6 of them that are there daily when trainings are happening to, if a fire sparks, they're there to address it and help. They've also utilized livestock going through this, the mass land they have over there, grazing to, just like we've seen different cities and communities do, mitigate cutting down the brush so there isn't as much fuel for a fire if it were to spark. So those are just a few things they're doing now, Brian. Another big one that just came to mind, they actually now have a weather station. They didn't have that back then in 2010. That was something that came about after those experiences in 2010, 2012 with those wildfires. And there have been wildfires since, or I should say fires that sparked on Camp Williams site since, but nothing like we saw 13 years ago with the 2010, 2012 incidents.
Ariel, it's amazing to see the video from 13 years ago too, because how much Herriman has changed in that time is just remarkable. Hey, what is the mindset now for people living in that community? What should they be doing to stay aware at this point?
Yeah, Brian, good question. I also spoke with Herriman City today. We went to that very same area where the fire came over the ridge. They said they just are really, they communicate with those residents about needing to be fire aware, having a defensible space around their home. We talk about that a lot during fire season. But yeah, just like many communities, you see that we have development all near the foothills and the mountains. That's the case in Herriman, which, I mean, reading back at some of the news articles from 2010, 2012, this was a rural community back then. It was considered that. As you mentioned, they've boomed in size, lots of development out here. So they just really push education when it comes to being fire aware on that front and having a defensible space around your home.
Ariel Harrison live for us tonight in Herriman. It's amazing to look at the video here because so much has changed. And obviously a community has obviously rebuilt after something like this too in that amount of time. Ariel, thank you. As we continue through wildfire season, as it is termed, KUTV 2 News, of course, has you covered. Download the 2 News mobile app for those breaking news alerts as new fires spark. As we get new information from fire crews on scene, there's a couple lightning starts from the storms that roll through in southern Utah right now. I've posted a few pictures of those on my social platforms. Well, let's switch gears a bit because we have to. We need to, because it was a big day for NBA fans. The schedules have rolled out for the Jazz. It's the 50th anniversary season. Before we get to any of that, if you know the Jazz, you know this face. This is Kristen Kenny, worked for the Jazz for 5 years, roaming the sidelines, getting the cool interviews, covering the team. It's great to have you as a part of the 2 News team.
Brian, it's so great to be here, and it's surreal being back out there, the debut story today, in the rain, nonetheless, still exciting, but covering the team that I spent so many years with.
Well, you were outside, you were getting drenched at 5 o'clock. We said we would bring you in here in the nice comfort of the studio to do our 5:30 2 News live show. So thank you for coming inside. Really quickly, what are you going to be working on here at 2 News?
Yeah, so I'm really excited. So I spent most of my career in sports, and so we'll do definitely some sports features here, but also we're going to mix in some lifestyle pieces, some community pieces, human interest pieces. So I'm just really excited to tap into that in the Utah community. I can't wait to be here. So thrilled to be at KUTV. It's amazing.
So if you've got a story idea,
Yes.
one of those topics mentioned, send it over to Kristen because she'll want to talk to you.
Please do, yes.
Let's get to the topic at hand. Today's a big day, 1 o'clock Mountain Time. Everyone was waiting for the big drop, the schedule to be released for the regular season schedule for the Utah Jazz. I know you've kind of highlighted and circled some games. What are you looking at?
I have, and you know, we'll get into that real quick, but if you're wondering what I'm holding real quick, I got really excited with the schedule
yes.
drop because it means I can bust out my old Jazz gear, the Malone, the flamethrower, Jordan Clarkson. So yeah, the schedule's exciting time of year for sure. I think for me, the big one obviously is the home opener, especially at the new Delta Center. So that's October 25th against Sacramento. So that's 2 teams that have really been rebuilding. So I really look forward to that home opener. It's so exciting to get that energy going. And then the Jazz have a pretty tough schedule because they face the Clippers at home, then go on the road, Phoenix, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and then Denver Nuggets, the defending champions. So that's going to be a little tough stretch for those 5 days or so. But another thing to look at right here, I think I don't see it on there now, but I'm really excited about the home games that we're introducing on Sundays for the first time since, I believe, 2001. So November coming up, there's going to be a first home game on Sunday since that time.
And that's a big deal here in Utah because obviously there's a reason why certain things are not done on Sundays. I know that's always been a topic of conversation for the Salt Lake Bees, right? Because they play those 3-game, 4-game homestands leading into a Sunday, and they'll typically play that maybe afternoon game or something. But this is a bigger deal as they kind of revamp some stuff, not with just the Jazz, but of course the Delta Center, color schemes, the brand.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remember we always wanted Sunday home games, and it was tough on the road juggling the schedule and having to work around that complication. And so to now have it at home is great on Sunday.
Just quickly, it doesn't seem like any of the big reunions are until a little bit later, right? Like your Donovan, your Rudy. I mean, pick your name of who's left recently. For any reason, for any trade, it doesn't seem like it's like the first month, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's interesting because there are a lot of new faces. There's still some foundation and good pieces with the Jazz. You know, of course, Jordan Clarkson's still there, but the Jazz are going to face a lot of former Jazzmen that we all know so well. So when you look at those games, you look at, of course, where's Donovan Mitchell going to be? Is he going to be in Cleveland? You know, and that's definitely, you see that a little bit later. And then what I'm really looking forward to, if the players are still there, is Minnesota, when you have that 2-game series in March here in Utah, which is cool because, one, it's a 2-game series. And then you also have Rudy Gobert coming back to town with Mike Conley. So those are Jazz favorites as well. If they're still in Minnesota, keep in mind. So you never know where these pieces end up. But of course, the Joe Ingles, and I was talking to some Jazz fans on the streets today, and one of them said, I really love still Gordon Hayward coming into this arena and getting the boos. And I've been in there multiple times when Gordon Hayward gets the boos, and it's pretty fun.
I think my favorite part is going to a game or walking around downtown, seeing the 45 jersey, seeing the Gobert jersey, seeing the Hayward jersey, seeing all the guys that played well here at Mike Conley, that had the jersey sales, that had the fans hooked, and then left.
I know. They're
is a whole different team. They're still loyal, though, to those guys because they're still wearing them on their backs.
Right, exactly. I mean, once a Jazz man, always a Jazzman. Unless I think Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, well, the boos are legit. Hey, obviously, welcome again to KUTV 2 News. I know you were on at 5 o'clock. It was raining. I'm looking outside right now. If you're out there now, you're fine. Where can people find you? Where can people get in touch? Where can they catch up on life? All that good stuff.
So I'm really active on social media at Kristen Kenny. So that's super simple right there. So I think that's the first and foremost. You can send me a direct message via that way or on Twitter. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to joining the KUTV team and producing some awesome content.
Thanks for coming to hang out and, of course, talk about a familiar topic to you, the Utah Jazz.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming by on 2 News Live. As she mentioned, the Jazz obviously get going here. K-Jazz, believe it or not, it's all back and secure. K-Jazz Channel 14. Continuing coverage of the Jazz all season long, except for those nationally televised games. There's also the plans for that new Utah Jazz subscription-based streaming service. We're kind of keeping our eyes on that, seeing what happens with it, but you always know Old Faithful is back. K-Jazz, where the Utah Jazz are coming home once again this season. Reminder, you can always find KUTV2 News live on your phone, your tablet, your computer. We're virtually everywhere. You can stream our newscasts on the KUTV mobile app, on Stir, News On. Those are TV apps. You can find them right there on your television. We're also on YouTube. Really, all of these are available on your fingertips. Really, when you pull out the phone, you can find our show anywhere. Busy day. Thanks for watching 2 News Live. We're back for another installment tomorrow. Boy, if you missed anything here from the last 20 minutes, from the last hour and a half of our news coverage, so much has just happened in such a short little time, especially with those ominous clouds out there. Boy, stay off the roads if you don't really want to get wet right now. Have a good night.